Alright, motherfucks. Since my videos are kind of not out of order, but because I'm one video ahead, and today is Tuesday, and I'm going to release my AEW video today, there's really no room for a Raw review this week. So I figured, now it's Wednesday when you see this video, and it's important to talk about a few things that are happening on Raw, but not really a Raw review. Now, the last video I made was 40 minutes, so I'm going to make a little shorter one now because, you know, ain't nobody got time to listen to me for 40 minutes, motherfuckers. So here it is. Raw, this episode of Raw was complete shit. It was one of the worst Raws I've ever seen in my life. Now, I got my Hulu Live TV, and for like $14 or $15 more a month, I can now skip all commercials in my DVR, which I believe should be the standard, but here we are, motherfucks. So I was able to skip the commercials and watch this really quickly. Now, here's the problem with this show. There's very little good and a lot that's bad. So you take someone like Matt Riddle, for example. I really enjoy Matt Riddle. A lot of people don't like him, but I like him. And I like him because he really is excellent in the ring. And I believe, just like AJ Styles, this is because he is exceptionally athletic. Matt Riddle is one of the most athletic wrestlers I've ever seen. You know what I mean? First of all, he looks athletic, and he does the moves, right, with force and conviction. You can tell that he's doing the move. Like he does the little final flash and then turned the guy around and picked him up in the bro Derek effortlessly, right? It looked smooth, it looked good. Matt Riddle is awesome. Now, I don't know how far he can go with his bro gimmick. Doesn't seem like a WWE Championship gimmick to me, but that's why we have gimmick changes, motherfucks. That was good. His interactions with New Day were also tolerable. They were pretty fun, I'm not gonna lie, you know? Talking about the scooter and shit like that. Now, the things that were bad were the usual shit. First of all, we once again have to witness Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre, easily the worst feud of the year thus far. Now, I thought that Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre was bad enough, motherfucks, but this thing is on another level of total shit. All right? This one was bad. Okay? I don't care. It's the same match every time. Two people are going to run around and do meaningless moves until one of them hits their kick finisher. There was a part where Sheamus did like, I don't know what move he did, but he did a move basically. And then afterwards, he did like a bicycle knee to Drew McIntyre. But he had enough distance to do a bro kick, right? Why didn't he just do the bro kick? Which is his finisher, you know? It's the same fucking motion, you know, but he decided to go with a lesser move. This is ridiculous. This would be like if The Rock had someone in the rock bottom like position and then decided to do like a reverse STO. Or if he had someone down for the people's elbow and instead decided to do like the people's ass drop. You know what I mean? It makes no sense. Like things have to make sense, motherfucks. But anyways, like Sheamus doing the bicycle knee is cool because it's like kind of like the bro kick, but it can be used when like he can't do the bro kick because he's too close or something. He doesn't have enough momentum or whatever the case may be. Neither here nor there, motherfucks. That was shit. Now the biggest problem on Raw, in my opinion, for the last, it feels like multiple months, probably has been a few months, is Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss. I don't know what more needs to be said about this shit. This is the worst thing I maybe have ever seen in wrestling, except for the fact that AEW's exploding ring was worse. But this is right there with that, motherfucks. Randy Orton coughing up blood and being continuously distracted by Alexa Bliss with a jack-in-the-box is inconsistent with Randy Orton's character. The entire Randy Orton character when he feuds with Bray Wyatt has been Randy Orton doesn't give a fuck. That's always been the Randy Orton that wrestles Bray Wyatt. The Randy Orton that wrestled Edge is also very similar. This Randy Orton is also someone who is cruel, doesn't give a fuck, and is willing to hurt people. This is the best type of Randy Orton there is. But for some reason, Randy Orton has now turned into a cuck. I don't get it. This is the same guy that years before infiltrated the Wyatt family, won the Rumble, and then turned on the Wyatt family, breaking them apart once and for all, and then beating the shit out of Bray Wyatt in a match where worms were being projected onto the ring. One of the worst matches I've ever seen in my life. So this is a guy that doesn't give a fuck. And then next month, he like beat Bray Wyatt in his own home. Like this is a guy that's had Bray Wyatt's number forever. more recently, he burned Bray Wyatt alive. Like the entire storyline between Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt is that Randy Orton is a real man and Bray Wyatt's horseshit tactics don't work on him. That's the entire story. It's Bray Wyatt, all this goofy shit, I'm the Fiend, doesn't matter to Randy Orton because he'll burn you alive, motherfucks. And I thought that was awesome. From a storytelling perspective, it was fucking great. Because I'm sick and tired of all these people being scared of Bray Wyatt because he pretends he's scary. You know? Everyone, oh, anyone but you, Roman. Oh, I'm going to go after Dean Ambrose. Oh, John Cena, I'm going to destroy you too, you know? Daniel Bryan, all this other shit. They're all terrified of him. Randy Orton, his character is not scared of anything, basically. He's fucking crazy. So he's out there burning people. And now all of a sudden, we're introduced to the fact that Bray Wyatt has magical powers through Alexa Bliss. So, I mean, this thing only has one logical conclusion. That's Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania, a match that absolutely not one person wants to see. As I've stated before, and I will double down on this, motherfucks, if this is, let's say, the main event of one of the nights of WrestleMania, I am not watching it. I'm turning it off and playing games or like doing anything else, basically. Watching an old episode of Survivor up in this bitch. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to watch this at all. I have zero interest in seeing Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt in any kind of match. Let alone seeing them in a match that's probably going to involve some form of mysticism and magic. You know what I mean? That's the problem here, cucks. That's the problem here. I don't want to see that. Furthermore, we just saw them in an Inferno match. Or whatever the fuck they called it this time. I think it's called the Inferno match still, but whatever, right? Where he burned him alive. Like, what more is there to do? Just shoot him in the head with a gun? You know? And then piss on his dead body? I don't know, dude. Nothing else can be done with this feud. They've done it all. The only thing that can be done to potentially save this garbage would be something like have Bray Wyatt just debut as a normal guy. I know they're not going to do that, but I still petition for this to happen. So that's why this Raw was total shit. Now, Bobby Lashley is fucking awesome. Let's put that out there one more time. He beat The Miz again. Not really like an impressive victory because it's just The Miz. And The Miz has been portrayed as being super inferior to Lashley as a wrestler and as a man. So Lashley beat The Miz doesn't mean much. But the facts are what the facts are. You look at Lashley, and they kept emphasizing, the new thing they're talking about now is how it took Lashley 16 years of busting his ass. Most of the time he wasn't in WWE, but nonetheless he busted his ass. Now here's the thing. I don't know why they keep focusing on these 16 years. All this does, this combined with Lashley himself, all this does is just make WWE look like a bunch of retards. Because you look at Lashley and you think, this is obviously the best guy in this entire company. This is obviously the guy that should be champion. This is the guy that should have had the Roman Reigns push, not Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is not as physically impressive as Lashley. He isn't, motherfuckers. He isn't. You know, he's not as strong. He's not as durable. He's not as tough. You know, he doesn't look as tough. He's got green eye contact. It's not the same thing. Lashley is the superior man, and Lashley should be the champion. And the mere suggestion that Lashley and Drew McIntyre might main event WrestleMania makes me fucking sick. People need to stop what they're doing in Connecticut, and they need to get Brock Lesnar on the telephone ASAP and have him come in on Monday night. This is what should be done. Monday night, Brock Lesnar, the Monday after fucking, Fastlane. Or maybe even at Fastlane. Brock Lesnar comes out and just destroys everyone, right? He comes out during maybe a tag match. Maybe during the New Day tag match, right? Where it's New Day versus, the Hurt Business, right? And he comes out and he just beats the shit out of everyone. He F5s all of them, right? And he grabs MVP and just F5s them. And this prompts Bobby Lashley to come in and try to save them, right? Because Brock Lesnar can't be the face. Maybe Lashley can't be the face either. You don't need a face or a heel here. But I'm saying to introduce Brock Lesnar as a challenger, right? And then Lashley's like, oh, me and you, Brock, right? And then you have Brock Lesnar F5 Lashley a few times. And then at the pay-per-view, you have Lashley beat Brock Lesnar clean with the Hurt Lock. Or maybe with a spear if you don't want to do it like that. Or even have Brock Lesnar win. Even that one I'm cool with, to be honest. But the facts are what the facts are. This is the match to make. This is the real motherfucks dream match. This might be the most important dream match left that hasn't been done yet. You know? And that can still be done because both men are still like in tip-top condition. Like they haven't lost a step, you know what I mean? Especially Lashley. Now looking at Lashley after the match where he just flexes his muscles and his bicep is bigger than my head, you know what I mean? You look at this guy and you think to yourself, I don't know why this man left WWE when he did, but I really believe, motherfucks, this is going to be some high praise. I really believe. I mean, I still think we would have had John Cena, and Lashley would have been secondary to John Cena because he's not as charismatic, and John Cena has some advantages over him, and John Cena is just as strong, but probably not as strong, let's be honest, right? I believe that if Lashley had stayed with the company from his debut till now and hadn't gone and done Strikeforce or Bellator, whatever the fuck he did, and gone to TNA where he was the God of Thunder, Bobby Lashley, all this other shit, I believe that Lashley would be one of the best wrestlers of all time. I don't even think anyone can dispute that. He would be, hands down, one of the best wrestlers ever. Guaranteed Hall of Famer. No doubt about it, motherfucks. He would be the best. One of the best. People would view him much like they view Brock Lesnar now. He should have had a Brock Lesnar-esque career. He, I believe, was their answer to Brock Lesnar leaving. You know? And then he left too, you know what I'm saying? Should have paid him more money, WWE. Should have done it. You could have made a lot of money, and they still will make a lot of money, but they could have made so much more money from Lashley. Lashley is fucking awesome. You know, this guy, everything he does is badass. I'm not really super familiar and fond with a full Nelson as a finisher. It works for Lashley, don't get me wrong, but I personally think that one-arm spine buster thing he does should be his finisher. That move is fucking badass, you know? It's like, it's better than a power bomb, better than a spine buster, obviously, better than a choke slam. He just grabs the guy and slams him like they're nothing, you know? And he did it to Braun. So I don't really see an issue with that being his finisher. Speaking of Braun, by the way, I have to mention this. The storyline is Shane McMahon is taunting Braun for no reason. That's the storyline. The storyline is Shane is bullying Braun and calling him stupid. The end. Nothing more to say about that. That's one of the dumbest things I've heard in my life. Obviously, that's going to be a WrestleMania match. Probably some crazy, like, you know, Hell in a Cell type match or something like that. I don't think any person in the world cares whether Braun Strowman or Shane wins that match. Shane being in all WrestleManias and wrestling at every WrestleMania is overplayed now. He takes up a spot, and which I'm fine with. I'm fine, for example, if Goldberg takes up a spot, because the matches Goldberg has are meaningful. You know, Shane's matches are not meaningful. Oh, who's going to win, Shane or Miz? Who the fuck cares? It had no implications whatsoever. So there you go, motherfucks. No implications, so it doesn't matter. There you go. Lashley is awesome. Lashley should win at WrestleMania. I am terrified that Lashley will lose at WrestleMania to, you know, reinstate the era of Drew McIntyre, the era of the running kick, you know, the era of the running kick finisher. What the fuck are we talking about here, motherfucks? You know, what would you rather see? A running kick finisher or a one-handed spine buster? Think about that for a second, motherfucks. Lashley is a star. Lashley should wrestle Brock Lesnar. And I understand they can do that, let's say, next year. But this is the time to strike. We're at WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar can be tempted to come back for one match. Pay him $5 million. I don't care. Do it. People will see it. It's as simple as that. It'll establish your champion. You have Lashley beat him, and there it is, motherfuckers. There it is. Lashley is the hottest he's ever been right now. His stock is the highest it has ever been, and probably the highest it ever will be. Let's be real. The world loves Lashley now. It's near WrestleMania, so what do? We have Lashley versus Lesnar. Somewhere between now and WrestleMania, Lashley should have a match with Matt Riddle where he squashes Matt Riddle. Simple as that. Like, where Matt Riddle runs, Lashley does the one-arm spine buster, puts the hurt lock on him, and that's it. Just to avenge that loss, right? Non-title match, but it needs to happen. So there you have it, motherfucks. Monday Night Raw sucks ass. Drew McIntyre sucks ass. All these guys suck ass, except for Lashley, which is one of the only people worth watching, motherfucks. Nothing else on this show is entertaining. None of the other segments entertained your boy. A lot of replays, a lot of commercials. But the two main storylines on Raw right now are what is Lashley going to do and what is Randy Orton going to do. And the Randy Orton one is despicable. It's ridiculous. The fact that this is going to be a WrestleMania match yet again after they feuded the entire year. Like, Randy Orton has had 2 feuds this year. He feuded with Edge and then he feuded with Wyatt. Oh, he also feuded with Drew. Oh, WrestleMania worthy main event. Randy Orton feels like a mid-carder again. And Bray Wyatt has never felt like a main eventer. So there you have it. I don't want to see this shit anymore. I don't want to, watch Bray Wyatt wrestle. I don't care. The match is not going to be good. It's going to be Bray Wyatt doing one move and then acting weird and creepy. It's a failure, guys. The Fiend is the worst character ever. Just like Ryo Mizunami in AEW is the worst wrestler ever, The Fiend is, I honestly think, taking out of consideration things like the gobbledygooker, right, and dumb shit like that, right, like characters that aren't characters, like Glacier, like not that kind of shit, right? Like, taking away that kind of character, like the goofy ones that are like silly on purpose, that like aren't meant to be taken seriously at all. Like Chavo Guerrero as the eagle, as the swagger soaring eagle, like that kind of shit. Taking away mascot characters, basically. The Fiend is by far the worst character. Like, definitely the worst character to ever be in a main event scene. Definitely. Not one character is worse than this guy. He is trash. He is a fat fuck who comes out and just reinvents himself, quote unquote, by just putting on different clothes. The character is the same. So as far as I'm concerned, I was so happy when Randy Orton burned The Fiend because I thought this would be the end of this horse shit. But it was just the beginning, motherfucks. Even talking about it tires me out. I need to take a nap after talking about The Fiend. So, in conclusion, the Raw review for this week, and honestly for next week, and the week after that, and for several other weeks until WrestleMania, is going to pretty much be Lashley's awesome, Randy Orton and The Fiend suck ass, and nobody wants to see that match, and there you go. And Alexa Bliss also sucks. She's not doing a good job. People are like, oh, what a great job she's doing. No, she's not. She's just being a weirdo. It's not hard. Motherfucks. All right, with that being said, I'll talk to you guys later up in this motherfucker.